Our topic for today is force. And what we are going to discuss under force, which is called content, are what is the definition of a force? How many types of forces do we have? Those are the content under that topic. The definition of force is that it can be defined as the action that changes the position and shape of a body or of an object. An action that changes the position and shape of a body of an object. For example, when we hold a can of Coke, empty one, and we apply force with our palm, it squeezes the can of Coke. That is, the force applied by the palm of the hand have changed the shape of that object. Or let us take, for example, a stationary vehicle which was hit by another vehicle at the back. We shift forward. That vehicle that hit another vehicle from behind has applied a force and have changed the position of that vehicle. So that is how a force changes the position and shape of an object. Then the SI unit of force, that is System International Unit for force, is the Newton, which is abbreviated as capital N. Then when we want to calculate the force applied on an object or a body, there is a formula for it. And the formula is force is equal to mass of the object or mass of the body times acceleration of the body. Acceleration is the distance which the body moves, and which is also F, which is the force, is equal to F, the mass, times acceleration of the body. And we have different types of forces. There are two: contact force and non-contact force. For today, for this our lesson, we are going to talk only on the contact force. And what is contact force? Is the force which have effect when there is a physical contact on the object or on the body. Let's say, for example, there is a stationary vehicle that blocks the road, and we want to push it. So those people that are pushing the vehicle will stay at the back. So there is a physical contact on the car, which is the object. So the vehicle will now move forward in the opposite direction of the force. So these are examples of a contact force. So we have several examples of contact force. We have push, pull, tension, and frictional force. So push. So the push is the force coming behind that have effect on the object and move it forward away from the force. The pull is when we pull a door, is the force that pull an object towards itself. For example, the pulling of a door is an example of a pull. Then tension. Tension is another contact force which is exerted on a stretched object or a body. For example, all of you know rubber band. When you stretch a rubber band, that is tension. You exert tension force on that rubber band. Then, when you bend an iron rod, this is also an example of a tension force. And again, we all know spiral springs. Springs also have tension forces on them. These are examples of contact forces. So I want to write on the board the examples of contact forces on the board. Examples of a contact force: push, pull, tension, and frictional, or we call it frictional forces. So these are examples of contact force. So we want to see push as a force. So we said that this is the force. This is the force that comes. Is the force that comes behind. The force that comes behind an object is the force that comes behind an object or a body and moves it forward. Away from the source of the force. Pull, e.g., pushing vehicle that breaks down, pushing vehicle that break down. This is an example of a push. Pull. Pull is the force. That draws a body. Is the force that draws a body or an object towards the source of the force, toward the source of the force. Example, a towing van. A towing van towing a vehicle. A towing van towing a vehicle is an example of a pull, which is a contact force. Tension Tension is the force. Tension is the force that stretches a body or an object. E.g., stretching a rubber band, or a bent iron rod, or a spring. This is an example of a tension force. Frictional force. So we want to see frictional. All of you have been hearing about friction. So friction is the force. So frictional force is the force between surfaces. Is the force between surfaces of two objects. Is the force between surfaces of two objects that are in contact with each other. So this type of force enables a moving vehicle to stop when brake is applied. So this a frictional force can also occur between a smooth surface like our chalkboard and the chalk. If the chalkboard is very smooth and it's not rough, and you are trying to write on the surface, so the surface of the chalkboard and the chalk comes in contact with each other, then so it will not grip unless the surface is very smooth before a frictional force can be applied. So that is why before you can write very well on a chalkboard, the surface of the chalkboard must be very, very a bit rough. But for the white marker board, we can also see that the surface is very smooth, but the marker comes in contact with the surface of the marker board, and the marker writes smoothly on the surface of the marker board. So the contact between the marker board and the marker, there's a frictional force in between them. So this enables the marker to write on. So these are all examples of a contact force. So next lesson, we are going to talk about non-contact contact force.